I just wanted to take some time to go over this Hell Let Loose update because there's been a lot of controversy lately, well, from Team 17, and that might not surprise people that have been around it for quite some time because Team 17 took over from Black Matter. They were the original developers and the makers of Hell Let Loose, and it was fine for a long time and things were great. But when Team 17 took over with their $42 million, I think, transfer, well, things have started to go a bit shaky. It's not really the first time that a big development company have come and switched things up. They have a lot more money, they have way more resources, so they're going to try and do a few new things, but unfortunately it seems time and time again that Team 17 have managed to fail the community and the audience that they're aiming for. Don't get me wrong, the community has grown, like a lot. In terms of player numbers, Hell Let Loose is bigger than it's ever been, but in terms of the community sense, well, that's a different thing entirely. If we actually go and have a look, if I move my fat head over into the corner, at the new updates that have come out, well, we can see where the issues start. Update 15.1 came out on the 4th of July, and it is no surprise that this is where things started to go a little bit downhill for the reviews on Steam. But why was that? Well, first of all, we got a few new things. We got Utah Beach with this new night variant. These are things that they keep adding in. There's a dog outside, and if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if anyone really wants the night variants. Who's asking for this? I sometimes enjoy playing it and it adds some atmosphere, but I don't actually think it enhances the game at all. But hey, that is content that they're putting in. Omaha has got a new Dusk variant, Carentown with new control and skirmish, and St. Mary Anglaise new control and skirmish. Now, for me, this is the major one, because the skirmish definitely seems to be what's being pushed at the moment. This is the new game mode that is just not really Hell Let Loose, and I said this from the start. Skirmish mode being its 25 versus 25, more fast-paced games, you're getting into combat quickly, and true, it can be a bit more of a mainstream twist on Hell Let Loose, but it just isn't what Hell Let Loose was made for. It's going against the whole point of what made it great in the first place and what brought in players. And you might be saying, hey, look, but the 50 versus 50 and having 100 players on these huge maps put off a lot of people. And maybe having a smaller game mode that people can jump into faster might be a good idea. We've also seen an increase in player base. So is this what's going on here? Is it the skirmish modes that is doing this? Well, no, it's just not. I've been looking for skirmish modes to play just so I can record something. No servers are even putting skirmish modes on Hell Let Loose at the moment. Nobody wants to play it. Even now, with its enhanced player base, nobody's playing the skirmish mode. So why do they insist on bringing more and more updates trying to push it? Because it takes away from what Hell Let Loose was made for in the first place, in my opinion, and seemingly the opinion of most other people. Because this community sentiment is coming back as more and more negative with every update that they bring out. But it's not just the content that's the issue, it's everything behind this. They have a lot of issues with coding, not testing properly. I mean, it was only until a couple of months ago that they brought back community testing for each of their updates. Before, they just sort of forgoed all of it, which is, well, a red flag if I've ever seen one. Then they release updates that seem to break aspects of the game. Do you remember that huge update that basically broke vaulting within Hell Let Loose? Trying to go up to fences and just falling over or not even being able to get over it in the first place, having to spam spacebar and hoping that it registered that you were next to a fence or a wall. Well, that was later fixed. Now there's huge other issues. Lag has become a massive increase within this update, and well, especially on the new maps. Not only that, but Stalingrad is still incredibly laggy. Granted, that was not their fault, but they haven't fixed it. El Alamein was Team 17's bringing out. They haven't fixed the senseless lag on that as well. I mean, I loaded it up a bit earlier today, and I was getting horrific FPS, not just loading into the game, but in various parts of that map. It seems like I'm playing on a PowerPoint slideshow. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for PowerPoint, but not when I'm trying to play Hell Let Loose. So these are massive red flags, massive issues that have been around since they took over years ago now, and they haven't been fixed. Instead, they're pushing things like these skirmish modes and night map variants that I don't know anybody's calling for that sort of thing. And we'll get on to why this is such a big issue and why it kind of looks like they're just saying whatever they can to try and quell the fire without actually backing it up with real, honest words. Because Other changes have come in. They've put in some of the stuff like the UI that has been changed somewhat. I've seen some people complaining about that as well. But this was the big update that came out. And, well, there was something even worse that came with it. And that's the DLC bundles. This is the one I'm talking about. Operation Lutich Units. So this is £11.99, £12, about $15. Which is about half the price of How Let Loose in the first place, which is baffling. So surely there's going to be a lot of it. No, it's a few more skins. So as far as I'm aware, yeah, it's some German skins that you can play with. Look at this. Beautiful. I mean, this is a US skin, I'm assuming. It looks kind of cool, but it's nothing new. And it is just a skin. And then it gets even worse. Not only is it a few cosmetics for $15, which they have never done before. This is new for even Team 17. It's available on one map, the Mortain map. And you know what I think this is? I think this is because Mortain is the newest map and they want people to play it. Servers aren't playing Mortain. Servers are still going through the classics, Omaha Beach, St. Mary Glees, Carentan, you know, the good maps, even to some extent Foy, even though that's getting a bit less play these days. And they want people to play their new Mortain map because they've spent a lot of time working on it. And actually, I think it's one of the first updates that How Let Loose have done themselves. Everything that's come before under their name is basically work that Black Matter did before they were taken over, and then Team 17 have released it. So I think they really are trying to get people to play it because, my God, they have really messed this up. And you can see the reviews. If we look at the top, it's negative reviews. There's only 48 because, of course, not many people are buying this, thankfully. Charging €13 for cosmetics on top of that, cosmetics that you can only use on one map, is egregious and a joke to say the least. I understand the reasoning for this might be due to historical accuracy or whatever, but the cosmetics tied to one map should never cost €13. And I think that's the main thing. I mean, Team 17 did this whole thing earlier with the British faction update. When that came out, people were complaining that it didn't make sense of certain skins and certain maps, well, on El Alamein fighting in the north of Africa, especially on the German side. So How Let Loose were like, okay, well, we're going to make specific skins just for El Alamein, specific desert camos for El Alamein. And that was fantastic. But guess what? It came free within the next update. You didn't have to pay extra. It's not the fact that they're making historically accurate skins and cosmetics for each map, but it's the fact that they're charging $15 for it. And if we have a little look, this was also a skin that came out at the same time, but this one is free. So, I mean, that's fantastic. I think that's only recently been made free, by the way, because of the backlash. I don't know if that was released free. But if we look at their other skins, because they've been doing these cosmetics for a while, releasing them alongside updates and adding in extra things. Here's one with the Red Devil. And by the way, this is actually awesome. Like, I love the Red Devils. I think they look so cool. And being able to play them with skins is fantastic. Although, the issue is, they're still charging for it. But you can see it's mostly positive because they're only charging £4. I don't necessarily agree with charging money for extra bits, especially when you've got a game that is growing anyway at the speed that it's growing, and it's doing fantastically in terms of its numbers. I think the only thing that I would say is it is a way of players that are already established, that love the game, for supporting the developers and basically saying, thanks for your hard work, here's an extra £4. And you know what, that's fine. It's not my preference and I probably wouldn't, but that's fine. But when you're charging $15 and then making that skin available on one map, that is just taking advantage of the goodwill of your player base. Goodwill that is slowly declining. I mean, the reviews are getting worse and worse. It was a good game, but Team 17 are going to kill it. With a lack of content, well, they are bringing out updates, but like we've said, it's not the content and it's not the updates that anybody's asking for. Full of bugs, vaulting mechanics, bad optimization, overpriced DLCs and cosmetics. In fact, I think the game itself, it's gone up to £50. I think when I bought this game, it was maybe £24. And even the price went down a while ago, but yeah, it's gone up massively. I didn't even realize that. That is crazy that it's gone up so much. They've even boosted the price of the base game itself. Cosmetics, only specific maps costing $12. Slow development, lack of understanding of gameplay, and creating new modes before fixing old ones. Sorry, I think the main thing is not listening to the community. But they did respond. They put out a post on the 10th of July, so 6 days after the release, saying, addressing the update 15.1 feedback. Thank you for providing useful, actionable feedback. This update didn't meet our expectations and surfaced issues that we're actively working on and addressing. Despite our best efforts, we don't always get things right, but we're learning from these situations and listening to the feedback. Now, the problem with this is this would be fine if it was a one-off, but how many times have we had to make videos of, well, Team 17 and How Let Loose messing up, essentially releasing things that the community don't want, or even rushing things out? I mean, remember that trailer that I think it was a PC Gamer trailer that they eventually said, yeah, it was shipped off to a third-party company and they just rushed it out, and we had to release it because we didn't have anything else. Why are you rushing? You paid 42 million for this. You have money to sit back and relax and work out what the community want, because it will do so much more in the long run in terms of, well, I guess even money. The Mortain Operation Lutic units has not gone unnoticed. We're looking into it and we'll update you when we have more definitive information to share, which is so baffling to me, that response. And actually, that just pisses me off more than anything, because they know that people are just annoyed that it's $15 for, well, skins that are used on one map. So what have you got to look into? Just lower the price or make it free. I don't think there's anything else to look into that. And I think what they're doing is they're probably taking the wrong direction of it. What they're probably thinking is, can we put this map or these skins on other maps? Maybe, but that's not the point. It's the point that it's $15 and it makes no sense why it's that price. Community sentiment is not ignored. We hear your concerns. In fact, I think it is ignored. I think on the whole, I mean, you can see by the way that they're releasing these updates, how countless times they release things that nobody wants, nobody cares about, and actually messes up the game that people did love. They are not listening to community at this point in time. We have incredibly passionate World War II enthusiasts working on Hell Let Loose, a small team of developers who love the game with determination to create the best possible experience. And if I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's the developers' problem themselves. I think it's Team 17 and maybe some of the people working overhead, because we've seen this time and time again. We've seen people coming out saying, we had to just release this update. We had to release this trailer. We had to do this. We had to do this. We had to price these cosmetics at this price. I think the developers love what they're doing. And someone's coming in and saying, do you know that cosmetic, that uniform that's really cool? Can we actually separate that from the next update and make people pay for it? Because that seems to be the most logical thing, and what happens with most of these publishers. They take and put their fingers in to try and gain as much and squeeze as much money from titles like this as possible. And that's when most of the community sentiment is coming back negative. People wouldn't have a problem if all of this was just free updates. I mean, okay, stop breaking the game. That's a big thing. But time and time again, we've seen this happening of Hell Let Loose breaking the game, bringing out updates people don't want, and overcharging for things. And it seems like Team 17 do not know what they're doing. They are not in line with their community. And I don't necessarily think it's a problem with developers, but I think it's a problem with publishers and the overhead people that are trying to manage this. Whoever is managing the Hell Let Loose portion of Team 17 needs to rethink what's going on here, because this could be the end of a game if we carry on down that route. One bad update, one rubbish trailer does not destroy a game, but years and years of bad feedback and not listening to the community, a community, by the way, that helps create this game. This was not one of those games that was a AAA thing that was published and people were like, sure, it's done now, and then the community just hated it. No, this was built up through years and years and years of hard work of Black Matter and then the initial Team 17 development to try and gain the trust of the community. And so much trust was gained through the community that this is one of the most active World War II shooters on the market now, even though it's been out for almost, what, 6-7 years? And I cannot believe how much goodwill has been lost just from the simple thing of changing development teams. I mean, it sounds kind of obvious now, but you would have thought that when Team 17 were thinking of buying Hell Let Loose, the first thing that they decided they would need to do is keep the development cycle the same, to keep the updates coming, and to be listening to the community the same way that Black Matter did. But that has not been what's been going on. And, well, the results are very obvious. But I'd love to know what you think. Do you think that Team 17 can get past this? I thought after the last trailer was released and they released that whole thing saying, okay, we need to rethink the development cycle right now, I thought that was the linchpin that would wake them up and change the way this was going. Very clearly not. It seems that, well, this is just the way they are as a development company, and this is just the way that Hell Let Loose is going to be from now on. But But I'd love to know what your thoughts are. I'd love to know what you think is going to happen, whether they can pull this back, or are we just going to see this happening time and time again until, well, rightly so, the community gets sick of it and they move on to something else. Because Squad 44 has just had a huge new update. There is now competition, and I think Team 17 to be very wary of that.